support amending this ordinance. Jacksonville has been my home for over 45 years. I've been a responsible citizen. I've been a successful professional. When years of illness depleted my savings and my retirement nest egg, the home I owned, and it was also my office, returned to the bank after 30 years, and I had to move into elder housing. I'll be 70 on my next birthday. Aging is complex enough without the additional burden of knowing that because I'm a lesbian, I'm not protected in Jacksonville against discrimination in housing. I wish the former speaker were right and we were protected. But I am not, and I ask you please to add the protections based on sexual orientation and gender identity to our Jacksonville Human Rights Ordinance. Please.
Thank you, Ms. Winger.
In support of Bill 2012-296. What it will do is allow all the residents of Duval County and Jacksonville to live without fear of loss of employment, loss of housing, loss of their rights. It's not going to add to the cost of doing business. It's not going to add to the tax base. Okay? It's just going to help. It will help bring in better employers and better employees. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
We here in Jacksonville are very fortunate enough to be one of 4 selected cities in the United States to have the prestigious Mayo Clinic within its community. Unfortunately, as a direct reflection of our current city laws and ordinance, Jacksonville is the only one of the 4 Mayo campuses that do not have protections for all persons in the Human Rights Ordinance. Especially for one colleague of mine, this glaring omission is a direct invitation for current and future employees of this wonderful hospital to seek those protections elsewhere and at other Mayo campuses in those other cities in the United States. This is just one example of the many negative impacts of our current law. Jobs and what is fair. If Jacksonville chooses not to amend its current human rights ordinance to include sexual orientation and gender identity and expression, then it will continue to lose potential jobs, vital talent, and any future growth from new and exciting companies, employees, and future tax dollars, which myself, individuals like myself, and companies would bring to our economy and our great city. It is time to do what is right and protect not just some, but for everyone. Jacksonville is where Florida begins, right? Not where it ends. Vote yes on Bill 2012-296. Thank you very much.
Hold on. Now, again, Mr. Redmond, you have a question. We're not here to debate. We're here to ask questions. Mr. Redmond.
Yes, sir. Did you say through the President that Mayo, somebody left there and went to another state because Mayo was discriminating against that person?
Correct.
Okay. Doesn't Mayo have the ability to not discriminate? I know that we got email from Mayo Hospital supporting.
It depends on the company, actually. But Rochester, New York, Tucson, Arizona, Scottsdale, and Jacksonville.
Okay, the question was, did they have the ability to take care of this in-house?
I would hope so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
In 2005, I moved here to Jacksonville from someplace else. At that time, I had a 28-year career working for a Fortune 100 insurance company in a very responsible position. I thought, based upon the strength of my resume, would have little to do with the fact that I had transitioned in the process. All my paperwork was in order. I had changed my driver's license gender. I had changed the gender on my social security card and my birth certificate. I applied to Carolina Casualty Insurance Company here in Jacksonville. And after undergoing the interview process, I was told by a manager at that company Harriet, you will not work at any company here in Jacksonville. I was dumbfounded. I finally landed a job in Fleming Island, working for AT&T. And at AT&T, the people hounded me, and I was told by Human Resources that I had to use the men's room. Well, to use a crude parlance, I'm a setter, not a pointer. I can't do that anymore. Eventually, I was hounded out of that position. I plead with each and every one of you, please do the right thing.
Thank you, Neil.
I come to you this evening as one person whom is in support of the amendment of our HRO to protect all members of our community in regard to equal employment, public accommodations, and fair housing. But like the members of this council, I don't just represent myself. I represent a number of people in the city, including those who cannot be here tonight because of fear of losing their jobs or housing, simply because we don't have these protections in place now. I'm reminded of the Rotary's four-way test. Is this the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and friendship? And is it beneficial to all concerned? Offering protection and fairness to citizens of this city is a sound business growth opportunity that costs this city $0, but will indicate to outsiders that we welcome you and we welcome the economic stimulus that you will bring with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. I moved to Jacksonville when I was 18 years old to go to Christian college. And I graduated and married, and graduated again and again and stayed, and have served and ministered in 2 different churches for over 20 years. I know what it's like to be fired because you're gay. I know what it's like to be ordered out of a business after they've taken my money. I know what it's like to have slashed tires and broken windows and worse. The name calling. On the streets of this city just weeks ago, blocks away, again. I know what it's like to be asked to leave an event because I may give AIDS to the children. I know what it's like to leave my house and be reminded almost every day that my neighbors think God hates people like me. I know the joy of being a father, of a son and a daughter that live in this city now. And they're going to want opportunities now and jobs now. This is 2012. I beg you to think forward and not backward. Think forward. Do you want to be on the wrong side of history again? This is a no-cost opportunity for you to lead and enhance Jacksonville's reputation as a community that accepts all people. This is a chance for you to remind my fellow citizens that I am equal to them. I invite you to do the right thing. Join with other leaders. Gainesville's done it. Orlando has done it. Orange County has done it. Leon County has done it. Palm Beach County has done it. Broward County has done it. Gulf County, Tampa, Miami. My friend Dr. Carr beat me to the punch. John Hancock said on the Declaration, we believe all are created equal. We don't need special protections if we protect everybody. Why should I be excluded because I'm not like you? With all due respect, I ask you to consider this bill and the way it affects people's lives. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I'm here to voice my support for 2012-296. As a minister, I believe it is my duty to love my neighbor as myself and to always treat others as I would like to be treated. Discrimination against anyone, including those in the LGBT community, is in direct direct opposition to how God has called me to live my life. As a minister at Hendricks Avenue Baptist Church, I am proud that my pastor, colleague, and friend, Dr. Kyle Reese, chose to stand for what is right and just and signed the open letter from religious leaders in our community, which was written in support of this bill. The religious leaders who signed this letter have varying beliefs on the issue of homosexuality, but the one thing that they and I all agree on is that discrimination in any form is wrong. As a Baptist, I strongly believe in the separation of church and state. As representatives of the people, I do not believe that you should cast your vote based on your religious beliefs. It is your job to represent all of your constituents, including those who happen to be a member of the LGBT community. No human being should suffer discrimination. I ask you to please think about these things as you go through the process of deciding the vote. Thank you.
Mr. President, members of the City Council, I really didn't want to be here tonight. I was listening to CNN the other day, and they had a report on an African bishop who spoke about a young man who died and went to heaven, and God said, "Show me your wounds." And the young man said, "I have no wounds." God said, "Was there nothing worth fighting for?" And this is worth fighting for. I'm a former commissioner on the Jacksonville Human Rights Commission. The Jacksonville Human Rights Commission has taken 3 years. They've done studies, surveys, they've got it all ready, put in your hands and given you a recommendation. You are the people that God has chosen to make this decision. You're going to have ministers stand up and shout and rail against it. You're going to have ministers who sign letters for it. The end decision is yours. I would remind you that someday we're going to all stand before God. And it's sort of like the story of the Good Samaritan. As he lay bleeding in the ditch, the clergy passed by on one side, and the stranger stopped and helped this young man, took care of his needs and left money to pay for him. And Jesus asked the man he was talking to, "Who would you say was a better friend, or the better neighbor?" And of course it was a Good Samaritan. And Jesus said, "Go and do likewise." This is your job, to go and do likewise. We shouldn't even be having this discussion. This is 2012, but we've got centuries-old prejudices that are dragged into this century. It's unfortunate that people have to fight for rights. As we stood here and said a pledge of allegiance to the flag with liberty and justice for all, that just stuck in my heart. These are liberties. These are civil liberties. And there are those of you who would deny these liberties simply based on someone's sexual preference. I contend to you that who I sleep with does not define who I am. Many of you have got people working on your staff, or friends, or relatives that are gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender. Talk to these people. I strongly urge you to take the 6-week study circle that the Human Rights Commission had. It is excellent. It changes hearts and minds and opens you to ask questions you may never ask in a small city. I know my time's running out because I've got an orange light, but I do suggest strongly and urge you to have a study circle. It's only 6 weeks. It's not a lot of time. This is a very important issue. I ask you to vote yes for it. On my behalf, for my community, I urge you to vote yes for it. There's no other option to deny people rights simply based on their sexual preference. There's nothing holy about that. And I don't believe that Jesus or this minister who spoke earlier would feel that way either. Thank you.
I am a citizen of Jacksonville, and I spend money to support causes and businesses all across this entire county. I am a retired school teacher, a homeowner, and a small business owner. I support the passage of Warren Jones's Bill 2012-296. I have not dealt with discrimination that resulted in a loss of a job or failure to be hired for a job that I know of, or loss of a living space. I have had a neighbor who tried to use the police department and the zoning board to try and intimidate me, and I quote the state's attorney's mediator here, with frivolous and illegal reports to these agencies, just to harass your neighbor who is within the law. After the trip to the state's attorney's mediator, his wife, who was unaware he was making these statements, from his job phone and not at home, came to apologize and tell me that she had lots of gay friends and was sorry for her husband's actions. This discrimination harassment was handled because he broke the law and did it overtly through repeated false reports to local government agencies. But I have known many LGBT people who have had life-changing events such as loss of jobs, apartments, due to bigotry that was not so overtly accomplished. To be perfectly honest, everyone, and I mean everyone, discriminates on a daily basis. We discriminate on what we choose to wear, what we choose to eat, the friends we choose to hang out with or invite to our homes. Those are personal choices, and no one wants to deny you those. But when it comes to those kind of changes, those discriminations that affect people's lives, their daily life, their job, their home, their right to have a home, their right to have a family, then that is egregious and irresponsible, that we are not protected. This is just one reason to pass 2012. The other is because we are in a progressive city, or should be. It would bring other people of like mind to our city, and I'd like to see that. So I ask you to please pass Warren Jones's bill 2012-296, because it's the right thing to do, fiscally beneficial to our city and to its citizens, all of them. Thank you for your time.
I am a native and lifelong resident of Jacksonville. I am here tonight in support of Bill number 2012-296 because I believe every citizen in this city should be treated equally with regards to employment, housing, and public accommodations. No one should be discriminated against in our city. I support this bill because it is the right thing for Jacksonville, and truly it is long overdue.
I'm retired from teaching after 25 years in the Duval County Public School System. I'm a mother and a grandmother. I'm here to support and urge passage of Bill 2012-296 because all citizens should experience fairness in housing, in employment, and public accommodations. Please vote yes.
I'm here today to express my support of Councilman Warren Jones' Bill 2012-296. I've lived in Jacksonville for 22 years. I own my own home, live with my partner, have 2 children, and I've contributed in many ways to the community of Jacksonville. While I'm fortunate to work for a large corporation that prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, my partner does not. She's been targeted for the way she dresses, talks, for workplace friendships. There have been missed promotions, missed opportunities for career growth. No one should fear losing their job because of discrimination. As board chair of the Jacksonville Area Sexual Minority Youth Network, I have supported the work of creating safe space for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered youth for the past 10 years. I have watched many talented and gifted young people leave Jacksonville for communities that are more inclusive and support equality in the workplace, and support protections in public accommodations, including housing and health care. As founder and co-chair of the Jasmine Coming Out Day Breakfast for the corporate and business community, I have been a part of the business community coming together to celebrate the efforts of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender employees in some of the major corporations here located in Jacksonville. In 2007, we began this breakfast with 120 folks in attendance and 2 or 3 corporations in support. Last year, we celebrated with over 300 people in attendance and the support of over 30 corporations and sponsors for the event. If we're to succeed as a community and grow and be competitive in attracting new businesses and retaining our young and educated people, then I urge you to pass this human rights ordinance that includes sexual orientation and gender identity. It's a business imperative. It makes good business sense. It's the right thing to do, and it is the fair thing to do. Thank you.
I appreciate having this opportunity to address the Jacksonville, Florida City Council in support of the proposed changes to certain city ordinances to prohibit discrimination. I returned to Florida a couple of years ago from Boston, Massachusetts, and lived in Palm Beach, Florida. My hometown is Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, where I believe Clay Bennett spoke to the city not too long ago, where he is from. There, gays and lesbians enjoy today, as all of us as citizens enjoy, the freedom from non-discrimination at the workplace, the apartment dwelling, and at places of business. That struggle for human rights and equality in Oklahoma City ended some 10 years ago. And that occurred by a great deal of thought and action, as Jacksonville is going through today, 10 years later. And as it has for most large Florida cities, especially in South Florida. This is why I returned there. In my hometown, I clearly saw the real face of hate and bigotry subsequent to the Murray building bombing in 1995, when I still lived there. Then President Bill Clinton and Reverend Billy Graham came to give hope and peace to those who survived the blast to our town and to this nation in the week after, and many times thereafter, that despicable act of terrorism. My point, and changed my hometown forever. It finally expunged hate as a family value, and the non-discrimination ordinance came into effect a few years after. I guess hating others for logical reasons still continues. Oklahoma City's crime rate, believe it or not, is greater than that of Jacksonville's. However, hate regarding sexual orientation, affinity, or expression has diminished as a path of action by some. After all, we are still human. Economic development and diversity when it comes to sexual orientation are not mutually exclusive terms. They are combined success terms in the national and global economy. Yes, Jacksonville is on the wrong side right now of history without including LGBTQs in the process and progress of society surrounding the river city that continues to move past ignorance and prejudice. Even when the United States Congress has repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, when here a strong military presence exists in Jacksonville. Equality under the law is a human right.
Mr. Hayes, your time's expired, sir.
Thank you very much, and I thank you for the opportunity and ask you to vote in favor of this bill. Thank you.